So why don't we do that? Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the celebration of life of one of my favorite people in the world. He's named Randolph Alwin Wilkinson Jr., but we know him as Dove. And let me just say a little bit about my brother before we get started. See, you may think that you're at a funeral ceremony, but you're not. We call it a celebration of life. And if Randy was here, he would say, anytime we get together, we are always roasting him. And we all loved it. So consider this a roast of my brother. So you're going to hear stories from several people about this person's life. Because Randy was an amazing character. I mean, in fact, for those of us who remember the song, Ain't No Sunshine When You're Gone, raise your hand if you remember that song. Yes, yes. Well, Randy had a modification of that. It was Ain't No Sunshine When I'm Gone. That was my brother. And because he was the sun. When he walked into a room, he lighted up the room. His sons know it. His wife knows it. Everyone knows. His daughter knows it, that he was the sunshine. He just brought it with him. But as you know, sometimes the sun, if you get too close, it can burn you. Other times, it just feels so good. So we get to have fun over our time together because Randy liked to have everybody fun. So we're going to have fun because Randy liked to have fun. And we're going to be happy because Randy was. And we're going to eat because we all know Randy loved to eat. Absolutely. So after this is over, we got a great meal that's waiting for us. And so we'll go ahead and eat. Well, let's talk about the order of service. What's going to happen and how is it going to happen? Let's take a look. So the first thing that's going to be happening as we go through, we have a welcome and prayer. Then we'll have a reading of his life and times. If you don't have a program, it might be helpful. Let's just say it's going to be a annotated reading of his life and times. Then some celebration voices. You're going to hear from William. William, raise your hand. You're going to hear from Trey. Trey, raise your hand. We're going to hear from his daughter, Erica. Erica, yes. We're going to hear from Eric, way in the back there. We're going to hear from Eric. We're going to hear from Janita, who's not here yet. She wants to sing for us. So we'll have some fun there. We'll hear from Michael. Boy, we'll hear from Linda, his sister. And then you see the other speakers. So if you would like to have an opportunity to speak too, we want to hear from you. And so please, for those who also want to speak, where Daryl is sitting right there, if at some point, when we get to the other speakers, if you would just move to there, it'll let us know that, hey, there are other people who want to speak. So if you also, and Daryl, because you're sitting there, you have no choice. You'll have to be another speaker as you do it. But we'll end with just a special tribute from Karen. And so really appreciate that, and we'll end there, and then we'll close in prayer. So with that said, let's do a welcome in prayer, if you would. And Randy was fond of A Course in Miracles. And I'd like to read one of his favorite lessons. This is lesson 97, I Am Spirit. Today's idea identifies you with your oneself. It accepts no split identity, nor tries to weave opposing factors into unity. It simply states the truth. I am spirit. Practice this truth today as often as you can, for it will bring your mind from conflict to the quiet fields of peace. No chill of fear can enter, for your mind has been absolved from madness, letting go illusions of a split identity. I am spirit. We state again the truth about yourself, the Holy Son of God who rests in you, whose mind has been restored to sanity. You are the Spirit lovingly endowed with all your Father's love and peace and joy. You are the Spirit which completes himself and shares his function as creator. He is with you always as you are with him. I am Spirit. You are the Spirit in whose mind abides the miracle in which all time stands still. The miracle in which a minute spent in using these ideas become a time that has no limit and that has no end. Given then these minutes willingly, and count on him who promised to lay timelessness beside them. He will offer all his strength to every little effort that you make. Give him the minutes which he needs today to help you understand with him. You are the spirit that abides in him and that calls through his voice to every living thing. Offer his sight to everyone who asks, replacing error with the simple truth, I am spirit. Begin these happy exercises with the words the Holy Spirit speaks to you, and let him echo around the world through him. Spirit, I am a holy Son of God, free of all limits, safe and healed and whole, free to forgive, and free to save the world. I am spirit. So let's get quiet for just a minute, shall we? We get quiet. Father, we are so blessed in the remembrance that we are spirit. Right here, right now, we are spirit. Randy is here with us, walking with us in his presence. For he is spirit, I am spirit, and so are you. We are your spirit walking in this world. And we accept our only role is to share with everyone we touch your precious spirit, your love, your joy. And so today we celebrate in that joy. We know you are with us. We are with you. We lift your spirit. We see it. We believe it. Our believing makes it so, and so it is. And amen. Amen and amen and amen. Thank you all, and thank you. Well, let's move on. We're about to go through the reading of the Life and Times. There's a program that's there if you happen to have it. Is that a great picture, Randy? What do you think? Huh? Just have to remember, y'all have to find a picture like this of me, and nicely enfolded as we go. It's a beautiful thing. Well, we have the Life and Times of Randolph Alwin Wilkinson, Jr., August 9th, 1955 to November 9th, 2021. Let's go through. We open it up and see his early years, 1955 to 1973. Randolph Alwin Wilkinson, Jr. was born at Walter Reed Army Hospital in Washington, D.C. on August 9th, 1955. He was the third child of what would later become a family of 8. His father, Randolph Alwin Wilkinson, Sr., was in the military. His mother, Carrie Williams Wilkinson, had attended Howard University before delaying her studies to raise her family. Some would say she was a doctorate and 6 kids, right? We called her Dr. Mom. Mom dropped out when she was 20 years old. She went back to school at 50 and got her master's degree, got her bachelor's degree. 55 got her master's. 60 got her doctorate. Dr. Mom, phenomenal woman. The family lived in government housing projects in D.C. for the first 8 years of his life. Well, that D.C. project, for those who know what was Anacostia at the time, it was a nasty neighborhood. What we did for fun, and I'm not kidding, we tied kids to trees and left them out all night. Oh, yes! And Randy was the head gang leader. Yes, he was. That's what we did. That was for fun. That's how we played. Well, we moved to a middle lower class neighborhood in Sea Pleasant, Maryland. In this new environment, Randy thrived both in school and as a leader in the neighborhood. He was the R in the NRVA Association, Norman Randy Vincent, that included 12 young people. Interesting. My brother, he's such a bright light. We would play games in the neighborhood. We'd play Risk and play all the other games. And there was one rule every time we played. Rule number 1 was get Randy out. That was rule number 1 for everyone playing the game. Why? Because when he won, he was just so obnoxious, wasn't he? He was, oh my God, I'm great. But guess what? Once we started doing that, trying to get him out first, if he still won, oh my, it was unbearable. Just because he was really a great player at what he did, no question. And he loved to let people know how great he was when he won. To make money, Randy had 2 paper routes and worked summer jobs, and it was during this period that he was first exposed to meditation, Edgar Cayce, and the Association for Research and Enlightenment. It was this early study that planted seeds that would later sprout into a deep love and commitment of God. Well, let's go on. When he was 17, his family moved to a suburb of Kansas City, Missouri, so his father could attend Unity Seminary. Randy and his siblings integrated the Blue Springs community, both elementary, middle, and high school. Those years in Blue Springs were some of the toughest years of his life. Why? He called it not Blue Springs, Missouri, but Blue Springs, misery. It was tough. It was a predominantly white neighborhood, and so he had to learn how to, let's just say he was stopped frequently for being, quote, in the neighborhood he shouldn't be in, but that's the neighborhood he lived in. So it was tough during those times. And so it was just the life that he had to live. He didn't know at the time that he was basically smoothing the way out for others to follow him. So he was pioneering. Now, today, Blue Springs is a fairly integrated neighborhood, which is great. Young adult, 1973 to 1988. After high school graduation, Randy worked full-time while taking classes at University of Missouri, Kansas City. He began working at the Postal Service, which back in the day, as many of us know, that was the job that we could always get. We could always work at the post office. He became a regular employee in 1979, and within 2 weeks of graduating, Randy was promoted to supervisor of plant operations, making him the youngest person to do so in the Mid-America District. He received many awards, commendations, and recognition during his tenure as a supervisor. Well, while in Kansas City, Randy dated Pamela Bradley, and together they had two amazing children, Eric and Erica. Family was everything to Randy. Being a first-time dad was a gift that he cherished and took seriously. He did everything to light up the world by giving his love, care, and affection. Randy and children were special. As you imagine, Randy loved doting on children. In fact, he would put them on their lap, and he would bounce them up and down, and he would sing a song. And Logan, I think you probably know the song. Uncle Randy, he's the king. He will do for you everything. And he would do it over and over again. We call that brainwashing children. It would be considered brainwashing today, but for what it was. He was promoted to labor relations specialist in 1985, where he worked with management and unions in grievance handling, arbitrations, etc. He was amazing as a union negotiator. He was able to really do well in negotiating settlements and so on. He also started Classy Balloons, where he designed and delivered balloons throughout Kansas City. He even expanded his business to the Atlanta area, integrating his family into the business. Both Terry's here, he had Classy Balloons. Sparkle also had Classy Balloons, all started from what Randy was doing in Kansas City. Randolph and Karen Kane first met in late 1980 at the Postal Service. They began dating in 1985 and were married in June 1988. I've got to tell you, I was around Randy during that time. Karen, he was smitten. I mean, he thought you were the most beautiful woman he had ever met. He talked about you constantly. Oh, yes, he paraded you as how proud he was of you. He really was. Through their union, two sons were born, Randolph Alwin Wilkinson, Trey, and Will Matthew Wilkinson. Randy was a doting and loving husband and father. He coached his sons in flag football and basketball and was always at their games with his video camera in hand. I know, guys, that was tough, wasn't it? Always there, ready to record every moment. Well, let's go to later years. Randy accepted a job offer in Dallas in 2000 as a labor relations specialist, where he stayed until he lateraled into the same position in Maryville, Virginia in 2002. Randy moved his wife and two sons to Fairfax, Virginia, where the boys thrived in school and sports. And as the note here says, this was also a homecoming of sorts for Randy, moving back to the area where he was born and raised. Randy was a lifelong Redskins fan, or as we say today, the Washington football team. His favorite statement was he had two favorite football teams, Washington and whoever was playing Dallas. Right? The Cowboys and Indians never got along, for what it was worth. When his father passed in 2003, Randy took up the mantle as the family patriarch. He found great satisfaction in bringing the different parts of the family together from all over the country. His latest act, in 2019, a reunion here in Atlanta, where people coming from all over the country, from our family. We had 100+ people here celebrating in that family reunion. In 2006, Randy was promoted to a higher position in human relations He later joined the U.S. Department of Agriculture as a mediator and labor management human resource specialist. On to the back. Randy retired, as we like to say, went into preferment in April 2015. During his tenure at USDA, he won 4 of the Chili Cook-Off Championships, a feat he was most proud of, and as Karen is fond of saying, as he let everyone know it, and he won that 4 times. Upon retirement, Randy and Karen moved to Spring Hill, Florida to enjoy their active lifestyle of traveling, visiting museums, concerts, and inviting families and friends to enjoy the weather and beaches. If you joined Randy in Florida, would you raise your hand, please? Who's been there? Yes, you know, he's invited everyone. It's a beautiful time, beautiful place they have down there. Let's go on. They designated, Randy loved the beaches and designated Thursday as his and Karen's beach day, where they would soak up the sun, read books and magazines, and take in naps while relaxing and sometimes venturing into the water. Randy was a lifelong, as we mentioned, Redskins WFT fan. He loved to write, cook, travel, and most of all, eat. His spirituality was very strong, and he belonged to several prayer groups. He was always ready to offer words of wisdom, encouragement, advice, and guidance. Randy was, indeed, the life of the party, no matter where he was. He believed in having a good time all the time. Well, prior to retirement, Randy received treatment for prostate and colon cancer. Now, while the treatments did great at defeating cancer, his body really did suffer the after effects. And after a very long battle and many, many hospitalizations, he made his peaceful transition on November 9th, 2021, surrounded by loved ones. Randy is survived by his wife of over 33 years, Karen, sons Randolph, Trey, William, Eric, and daughter Erica, 3 grandchildren, Isaac, Logan, and Alani, his mother Carrie, brothers Michael and Terry, sisters Linda and Michelle, and a host of nieces, nephews, cousins, aunts, and uncles, and in-laws of Kansas City. And the flowers you see to my left were provided by his in-laws of Kansas City. And Karen, thank you for that. And we say just a wonderful life, an amazing life. And so let's move forward as we will. Wim, you are first up. And so we got a little music playing for you as you come forth. And as I say, remember the signs. All right. Wim, please.
First and foremost, on behalf of my father, I'd like to thank everybody here and everybody tuning in online. It would just mean the world to him. I wish we could have a parade or put up a statue for him because I know he wants something like that. But we're doing the best we can. So, all right. So about my dad, he was the most knowledgeable, frustrating, confident, talkative, and unpredictable person I've ever known. Without a doubt, most embarrassing parent of all time. He for sure earned himself a few "Whose Man's Is This" Lifetime Achievement Awards many times over. But above all, he was the most unique person in the world, the real life most interesting man in the world. And that's what made him special, like, like I know he won't be here to take my children out to breakfast or spoil them with half of the grocery store. So I'm gonna have to do my best to make up for it, but I mean it's impossible. But I'm still trying my best. I'm really gonna miss him. I wish we had more time together, but he always used to tell me that I have a body, but I'm not a body, and that I'm a spiritual being living in a spiritual world. So I'm sure that he So I'm sure that he's right here next to you guys in the front row, listening to everything. Um, so as we say goodbye to, as he likes to refer to himself, the legendary Randolph Wilkinson, just know that he will want you all to keep breathing because it's important to him. so, so before I go, I just want to thank my dad for everything. All right.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Randolph Alwin Wilkinson III, better known as Trey. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I want to thank the congregation, everybody who's watching. Hey, what's going on? So, you know, everybody here knows my dad. Everybody, everybody in the world, because he's never met a stranger. Never met a stranger. So many people that we bumped into in public, just total strangers, started talking their head off. And quick little story: we used to go to AAA in Fairfax to get car work done. And every time he would go in, he would always, wear the suit, make sure me and William come, even though we didn't want to come, we had nothing to do. And then always put on a performance. Always put on a performance. Just it might have been a little inappropriate or a lot inappropriate, but it was just very, very memorable. And the boys. The boys. That's what you would always say. Um, Coming back to Atlanta, it made me remember going to the 1996 Summer Olympics here in Atlanta. And actually, I don't remember too much about it, but one thing I do remember is I thought he was famous because everybody was talking to him. He talked to everybody. And then I'm not sure if he went to the Olympic Games or not, but I just remember there were a lot of high fives. A lot of high fives with a lot of random people. A lot of high fives. And a lot of hugs too. And then I remember going down the parking structure, or we might have been leaving somewhere, and he just stopped and talked to the parking attendant. There were like 15, 16 cars behind us, and he was just talking to the guy, just chatting him up. And the guy was talking back and forth, honk like cars honking the horns. And I think I was 6. And I was like, Dad, can we go? I'm like, people are honking the horn. He's like, oh yeah, it's all right, it's all right. And then as soon as we got out, he made a left turn, and then I just remember him grinning like, yeah. I'm like, Dad, do you know him? And he was like, no, I don't know him. I don't know him at all. He's like, but you know what? He's not going to forget me, and I just made his day 100% better. Yeah, that's just how he was. It's just always how he was. And my dad, he was heliocentric. He loved all the attention, all the love, all the praise. Just as a father, he was very, very loving, especially during his days when he was going through the cancer treatment. Cause I would be at home with him, and he would wake me up out of my sleep just to give me a hug. And that's something that I wish I could have right now. Cause I used to hate those damn hugs. Wake me up in the morning, just come here, son, give me a hug. Give him a hug, and pat him on the back. He's like, oh, you're burping me, you're burping me. You know that. Or he'd say, oh, that pat in the back starting to feel like a machete. Yeah, he had all these Wilkinisms, what he called it. You know, saying he's elegant as an epileptic elephant. And then I never heard that song. I am Randy, I am King. The one I heard was dun 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 dun. Can't touch this. Yeah, he do that. All the kids put him on his feet and just bop him around. And remember when Logan was a baby, he was first born. He was so proud. He was just so proud of Logan. And Logan was his favorite person. Like even when Logan started eating real food, Logan wouldn't let nobody else feed him except for my dad. Nobody wanted Papa's phones. My dad would give him Altoids, even though he wasn't supposed to eat them. And I wish, you know, Logan could experience my father the way that I experienced him. And wish he was still here, bless the entire world. And just want to say thank you, Dad. I miss you. And I love you dearly. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Erica. Thank you guys for coming out and celebrating my dad. He'd be really happy to see all of you guys. So, one of my favorite memories of my dad, one of my first memories of my dad was him coming to pick us up and taking us out for shopping. We were going dress shopping for church because you guys know we used to live at church when I was a kid. And my mom got so mad because I came back with 7 black dresses and she was heated. And I told my dad, and he's like, "But baby, are you happy?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "That is all that matters." And that's kind of how he lived his life, unapologetically himself. Did it make you happy? Then go with it. In 2008, I got super sick, almost passed, and I called him and I let him know, Daddy, like, I'm sick. And literally the next day, he was by my side. He drove, or excuse me, flew all the way to see me, and the support and love that I felt in that moment was just, it was insane. No matter what, he was someone that I knew would have my back. He was like, you guys, I've experienced a lot of like loss in my life, but losing a parent hits different. This is like the one person that is going to have your back, that's going to love you unconditionally. And it makes me sad because my daughter like loves him, and he loved her so much. He was so proud of his granddaughter. And it makes me sad that she's going to miss that love, that support, and she doesn't understand what's going on. So that's even more difficult. But you guys, I didn't want to come up here and get sad. But it's true. All the fun that he had with us, all the love that he gave us, he's going to be missed. Period. He's going to be missed. But I'm going to try my best to live life the way that he would be proud of. All right, you guys. Thank you.
All right. Erica, I try to keep it all together, and she told some stories that I'm not gonna say I cried, but there was some water in the corner of my eye. So I'm gonna try to keep it together. While I'm here on stage, Uncle Michael, he challenged us to have this ceremony be the embodiment of what he would want, which is the man loved the party. He never met a party that he didn't like, right? So I want to try to be in that space and celebrate that, and be in that moment here with you today. When I was thinking about the stories that I could share, I was like, okay, maybe that one time when I was in Wichita for a wedding, I was stayed at my sister's Erica's, and for whatever reason, Daddy happened to be in the city at the same time. And I was like, wait, I can't tell that whole story, but I can share one of them, right? So we ended up going to a buffet, and you know what they don't have at buffets? To-go boxes, because you're not supposed to have that, right? It just doesn't happen. So, and one of my partners was with me because he was there for the wedding too, and he said it was the most amazing thing he'd ever seen in his life. We ordered some steaks, and my sister's steak comes out like, I think, well done. She wanted it medium well. That there is a difference there, and he had a problem with that. So he brought out the manager, the manager's manager. I think they called somebody that wasn't there, and he was like, "This is what I'm gonna need. I'm gonna need like two steaks for myself and for my daughter because we don't like the way that worked, and we're gonna need some to-go boxes." So we're at the buffet filling up to-go boxes, and the people that are there are looking at us like we're crazy because it's nothing. They never seen anything like that, and that was Dad. Like he found a way to make what was seemingly impossible possible. He just made it happen. And in his world, there was no barrier. The only barrier was you not trying to make it happen. And like that sort of mindset is something that I didn't realize it was instilled in me until probably earlier this year. For those who know, I had a chance to spend the balance of a month with him earlier this year, and it was interesting. Like in that time, I saw pieces of his personality that were imprinted on me that I hadn't even realized. And I found it amazing that even though his body was beginning to break down, that still didn't stop him, right? That spirit of celebration. And my secret takeaway, the thing that I'm most excited about, is that I did get the recipe to the white chicken chili. So for those who are interested, I only got one. I didn't get all four of the winning recipes, but he did share one of them with me. So yeah, I got a hold of that. So you can talk to me after the service, and I'll be sure to shoot that your way. But that said, it's a sad day for us, but he was hurting there at the end. So I know he's watching. I know he's there. I know he's paying attention. I'm trying to keep my word by being in the celebratory spirit. So, Dad, I love you. I miss you. And just thank you for everything.
So y'all know I shoot from the hip. I'm not ready. This is way more difficult than I thought it was gonna be. I missed the heck out of my uncle. I was gonna sing for him, but y'all can hear my voice, right? And I still will try. I still try, but I need y'all to be really kind about it. All I can tell you is that my uncle was one of the greatest men I ever met in my life. And I've known him my whole life. He was brilliant, one of the smartest dudes I ever met, and one of the cockiest dudes I ever met. But that gives me strength in my relationships because I don't take no, you know what, from nobody because I had great uncles. Uncle Randy always wanted to be my favorite uncle. And secretly, all my uncles are my favorite uncles. But one thing that I'm gonna miss is like he always taught me something. I don't think I would be this smart without him. Like I'm a wonderful, brilliant woman because of him. And all my uncles have contributed to this. I'm sorry, but this is what happens when you have great men behind you. You end up being really confident, really assertive, not aggressive, assertive. And you know who you are because you have really good men just backing you up and who love you 100%. My father is present in my life, but my uncles are all like brothers and fathers to me. I call them Broncos. Michael doesn't like that because it sounds like some trailer park stuff, but they are the best. So what I'm going to try to do right now is sing Over the Rainbow for you because Randy actually sat down and spent his time teaching me the lyrics to this song because I love The Wizard of Oz and he did watch it with me. Y'all need to know every Disney movie that came out, Uncle Randy had me front and center. I feel like a princess when it comes to him because he made sure And I knew I was important. And I even put on some Ralph Lauren shoes because he was fancy like that. So I'm going to do my best. I know it's supposed to be happy, so I'm going to get happy. Y'all get happy. And if I miss a note, just forgive me. This is all I got to work with. It's Uncle Michael's fault because I had to talk to everybody last night and yell and scream and whatever. So this is what y'all going to get. Someday I wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away upon the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, somewhere over the rainbow. Skies are blue and dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why? Tell me why can't I? We paid attention to this one. Someday I wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away upon those chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, somewhere over the rainbow. Skies are blue and dreams that you dare to dream really do come true.
Well, this time I get to share with you as a brother. And yes, what a brother. You know, when you're in the presence of someone who is truly talented, as a brother, you have two ways to go. You can choose to admire the greatness, or you could compete with it. Guess which way I went? There you go. So probably from the time I was 4, and it lasted till probably about 21, 22, I tried to compete with that greatness. He saw my competition, and he would call me little brother, and that would get me even more competitive, trying to compete with what he believed was my big brother. That's a cause for frustration. Because when you're in the presence of greatness and you don't admire the greatness shines even further. And you begin feeling even more diminished, which means you try harder and harder. And so probably from 4 to 21, I was in that competitive state where I was competing with my brother. And what starts as we learn in relationships, what starts as just a small abrasion, if it keeps rubbing together, it can become a huge rupture. That's not a good thing. And so somewhere around 14, I actually said to my brother, if you weren't family, we wouldn't even be friends because I don't like you. It lasted for quite some time. And my brother would call, and I maybe would return the call, maybe. He'd want to get together. I'd try to avoid it as often as I could. But somewhere along the way, I began to understand that I'm not defined by my brother. My brother's there to support me. And so I found that, he didn't have to call me. I would call him every once in a while. And I'd actually fly out to Kansas City to go see him. And we actually became really good friends. Why? Because he clearly had changed. No, because I recognized who he was in his greatness. And it's hard sometimes, isn't it, with siblings to really admire who they are. I so admired my brother and his ability to turn a room that I just remember I am a natural introvert. My brother's was a natural extrovert. And yeah, I know, but really a natural introvert. I was in Russia looking to speak after an afternoon of training. I was going to be speaking to a group of 40 people at this dinner. And it was a reception kind of thing. People were standing around. And the room was really quiet. It was just quiet. And I knew this is not good. This is not a good way to start an evening. I went into the bathroom and literally looked at myself in the face and said, Randy, I need you, buddy. And so I pulled forth Randy from inside of me. I came out of that bathroom, started introducing this person to this person, this person to this person, and 10 minutes later, the room was abuzz. Why? Because Randy was there. Randy was there. So I know my brother is always with me because anytime I want to, I can call on my brother. He is there. Anytime I want to feel his love, I can hear him calling me, Michelob, Michelob, or, hey, what's the deal, Pickle? That was just my brother. So those who think we have lost something, oh, not at all. He is here. He is here. And so whenever we want, we can just go to that memory. I have been so blessed by having him in my life. He has taught me so much. For those who are students of the Course in Miracles, he was a great forgiveness lesson for me to learn how to forgive myself in the body of Randy. What an amazing gift he gave me. An amazing gift. So I can say, truly, I am who I am because of how my brother made me to be. I feel so blessed by having had him a part of my life. And it doesn't stop. He is still there. So I say, thank you, my brother. Thank you for all you've given me. And so I reflect you as you reflect me. And amen and amen.
Wilkinson's big sister. There were many big sisters, but I was the third big sister. I was very close to Randolph very close to him, because we were basically 11 months apart. Every September, we were the same age, so we considered ourselves twins. And twins we were. Randy was very vibrant, and I allowed Randolph to be vibrant. Many people would think that I'm very quiet, but I'm not. I really am not. Ask my family. When it's time to be alive, I'm alive. But with Randolph, even though I was the oldest, he was the first to walk. I was the observer. So much so that my parents thought something was wrong with me. Why isn't she walking? Why isn't she talking? Randolph was running all about, climbing, pushing bathtubs, doing everything. And I was observing. Just observing, because I was the observer. I had to manage these 8 individuals in my household. I had to make sure I understood the balance of the house, how things should run, because I was the oldest. I was the one that was going to make sure there was joy, peace, and love in the home. So my connection with my brother was one on a spiritual level. We grew spiritually together. We were very much a part of the ARE, Research Association for Research and Enlightenment. We went through all of their summer camps, and we were very, very, very close to the Lord. We spoke consistently. I would say 3, 4, 5 days in a week, we would be speaking on the phone, constantly sharing our thoughts, constantly sharing our family concerns, but mostly we were involved with the Lord. And the one thing I can say for sure is I feel Randolph's presence with me always. Though deeply grieving about his loss and his presence not being here, I miss him a lot. And it's been very, very difficult for me to not hear him. But I want to share with you how he shows up. How he shows up for me. I don't know, maybe many of you all know Etta James. She's a wonderful singer. One morning I got up and I just wanted to listen to Etta James. And I mean Etta James, Etta James, Etta James. And so I turned on Pandora for Etta James, not Etta James and somebody else, just Etta James, period. And lo and behold, I only got one Etta James song, and all the rest of the songs were 60, 70 songs. Songs that Randolph and I used to dance to. We would dance with each other. We would teach each other dance steps. All of the songs came on. It was the most happiest day since his death that I had, because I recognized his presence. And so he just continues to show up in a spiritual way for me. I want to share a poem that I wrote during my most grieving moment, and then I'll be finished. So let me share this with you. Now, this is when I'm working at work, and all of a sudden, I can hear these words downloading. And I better put on my glasses so I won't be able to read it. So let's see. So I'm on the phone talking, doing my job, and I kept hearing my voice say, I know God, I know God. And so I put myself in a break. It said I need to begin to write because something is coming through. And I knew it was coming through from my brother. And it said, I know God. Father, I know you are with me always. I know your love embraces and comforts me. I know I can lean on you in times of great grief and despair. While my mind screams with thoughts of loss, and the pain engulfs and swallows me whole. It's your voice I hear, so sweet and low. Entwined with my screams, I hear you call. Come, let me hold you near. Embraced in your arms, I begin to heal. Petals of love you give. A song, a poem, a kind word from others. A feeling of peace that only you can give. I know, God, that you are near. I know, God, you are here. God is our refuge and strength and always ready to help in times of trouble. Amen.
Well, this is our time for others who would like to have the opportunity to speak. We were using that side of the room if you would love to speak, but just so that we know how many there are, if you would just raise your hand, if you would also love to give a word. I see 3 hands, 1, 2, and 3. And so can we go in that order? 1, 2, and 3, please. You'll introduce yourself, yes?
Hello, my name's Daniel Van Beek. This is my wife up front. Not a lot of you probably know me very well. If there's people watching on stream, you probably don't know me at all. But I just wanted to at least tell you guys my opinion of Randy. You know, like Randy didn't know me very well when I met Erica. You know, we didn't know each other at all. But he was always there for Erica ever since we've been together. When we got married almost 10 years ago, we were trying to put together a small wedding that would mean something, you know. And I remember Erica came up to me and she's like, "My dad's gonna pay for my wedding," you know. And like we got so excited, you know. He wrote us a check, and we were able to have a beautiful wedding that we've always wanted. He's invited me to his house, you know, down in Florida with Karen, and we spent like a weekend or 4 or 5 days with you guys, and I never felt any kind of distance from him. Like as soon as I got there, he was like, "I want to show you my favorite restaurant," you know. He accepted me into his life with open arms. Randy was a charismatic, loving person, and everything he did truly was to the fullest, and he just wanted to show everybody what a good time was. So I appreciate you guys for letting me have the time up here. Randy was a great man. He is a great man, and we should just celebrate his life today and enjoy each other's company and just kind of lift each other up while we can. Thank you, guys.
Good morning. My name is Daryl Bible, and I was a friend of Randy's, Randolph. I probably one of many, I'm sure. I had opportunity to be a guest in his home, and he couldn't offer you enough food to eat. He took us around town to show us his world to the extent that nearly missed my flight home, you know, looking at various things. I know that Randy was a collector of ball caps, and one set or series he enjoyed was Negro baseball leagues, you know, Birmingham Barons, Atlanta Black Crackers, and Kansas City Monarchs, and the like. And I was admiring one of the hats, and he gave it to me. Now, later I come to hear that he didn't give away any of his baseball caps. That's what Michael told me. So having heard that, I really felt quite honored, that, gee, I got one of Randy's caps, It's in my closet today. There's got to be something decent about a man nicknamed Dove, Yeah, it's got to be something good by that. I had read somewhere that you know them by their fruit, and what I have seen in the past and see here today is that he's left some really good fruit. Fantastic children and the affection of his extended family. It takes a real champion to do that. And so, if nothing else, he's got my championship award in that case. I resonate with the notion that Michael shared that he's not gone, he's just transitioned. That said, there's a part of me that will miss his brother. I'm going to miss that we didn't get to do the next thing together, or even the last thing, And, so I'm celebrating. I celebrate the brother. I know, that he's not gone, but he's gone from this life for me right now. And until we meet again, I'm going to miss him. And if any of y'all, share that, some portion of that pain that I feel, my prayer is that you have peace and comfort and joy in his memory, and know that he's going to be ever present now and later. So miss you, Brother Randy. Thank you.
So before I say anything, I just want to thank God for his presence and also thank my uncle for his presence in this current moment. And so for those that don't know me, I go by the name of Michael Supreme, but my government name is Calvin Haynes, and Randy was actually my uncle, all right? And so there's a few things about him. For people that know me, I don't really get emotional a lot about too much of anything. I'm kind of like straightforward when it comes to emotions. But the day that my mother called me, and I was in the truck working, and she said, hey, do you want to leave your last words with your uncle? And I said, okay, cool. And so I talked, I prayed with him. And then it was a couple minutes later, she called back and said he's gone. And I said, okay. And so everybody that was around me said, do you need to take a second? Like, you need to pause? I'm like, no, we're good. And so they said, no, let's just pause. And so we paused. And then we got back into the day. And it was when we got into the truck and started moving that it hit me. And so my mother spoke about songs. And I remember this was the first time in a while that I cried like I couldn't stop crying. And it was Luther Vandross's song playing Dance with My Father Again. And so Uncle Randy was like a second father to me. It was a lot of things that he did in my life throughout time that really shifted things for my trajectory as coming up as a man. And so I remember it was one time he was ill. I went down to Tampa to spend time with him and kind of nurse him back to health. And in that season, what I realized, now looking backwards, my mother and my father taught me about God. My uncle taught me how to be in relationship with God. And so I remember he had a list of hundreds of things that we were going to do within a 2-week span of time that I was there. And I was like, oh, there's no way we're going to get this done. And he said, yeah, it is. Watch, we're going to do it. Of course, he didn't do anything. I did all the work. But, needless to say, it got done. But in the way that it got done, every day we started off our day with prayer and meditation. And he said, all we're going to do is do what we can do. And then after we do that, we're going to go and have fun. And for everybody that knows my uncle, he was a fun guy. Like, he lived life to the fullest, but he also did what he needed to do. And so one of the things that was on my spirit when my mother asked me to speak, and that's consistently on my spirit, I just want to leave you all with the affirmation that he gave me in our meditation. So I just want you all to repeat after me. Who am I? I am a spiritual being in a spiritual world. The Father and I are one. All that the Father is, I am. Father, I speak your words. I think your thoughts, and I do your will. Send me. Use me. And this is the last thing, because he keeps pressing on me. He keeps pressing on me. Every time he would see me, he would say, nephew, keep breathing. So what he's telling everybody in this room right now, keep breathing.
We have one other presentation before we hear from Karen. And this is a video presentation from who would be his uncle. This is our Uncle Kenny, if we can now.
Hi, everybody. This is your Uncle Kenny, and I just wanted to share a few fond memories that I have of Randy Jr., as well as with my nieces and nephews. A lot of love and a lot of laughter was the main ingredient of this family. Randy Jr. and I go as far back as the Sandbox. The Wilkinsons, my nieces and nephews, we seemed always to be together. Randy Jr. and I were the same age. Randy Jr. had a great memory. He could remember as far back as age 2. I could remember as far back as age 3. We always were at either my home or his family's home. On the weekends, my family's house was the hub for friends, neighbors, relatives. We would all gather, especially on the weekends and vacations and holidays. And our responsibility as children were to entertain the adults, and that we did. We were ahead of our time. There was no YouTube or That's Entertainment at that time on television, but we provided all of the entertainment. We sang, we danced, we act, we performed comedies, stunts, pranks for the family. We did dance recitals in the community. We bowled in leagues, and we frequented amusement parks. Hershey Park, Glen Echo Park, Great Adventure, Marshall Hall, King's Dominion, Great Flags were hangout spots for us. We went to the beach frequently, Ocean City and Sandy Point. And I remember one unique time where Randy and I got away from our normal weekend routines, and with the Boy Scouts, we went on a 10-mile hike in Prince William Forest in Virginia, and that was quite an experience. For our age, I think we were between 10 and 12. We walked for 10 miles and had a lot of time to talk. We saw a lot of people fishing in streams. We didn't have any fishing rods, so we fished with our hands. And, we would go in ankle deep into the rivers and streams and fish with our hands. So we caught tadpoles, and those we brought home. They eventually turned into frogs. And we caught salamanders and frogs. I know that I will meet Randy again, most likely in that sandbox. He's probably waiting for me. Love you, buddy.
Thank you. Any others who would love to share a word before we go to our final speaker? Please. Great to see you.
I'm Terry Wilkinson, Randy's brother. There's so many stories. Let's talk about the brainwashing. He asked me a question, and you tell me if this was a question. I'm not the greatest person that you know, the smartest that you know. So I just looked at him. And I gave him a Denzel Washington line. My man.
And indeed.
You can shed tears because they are gone, or you can smile because they lived. You can close your eyes and pray they will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that they left for you. Your heart can be empty because you can't see them, or you can be full of love you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember only that they are gone, or that you can cherish their memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your eyes and your mind and feel empty, or you can do what they would want you to do. Smile, open your heart, love, and go on. This was by Elizabeth Ammons. Good afternoon, and all praises to the Most High for allowing us to live another day in His glory. I want to thank all of you in attendance and watching on Facebook Live as we celebrate the life of my husband, Randolph. Thank you all for your prayers, your flowers, your cards, phone calls, and messaging, and opening up your hearts and your homes to me and my family. We all love Randolph, and I truly, truly appreciate all the kind words, inspiration, and condolences as we enter our new chapter. So may God's blessings continue to flow through you and to you. And before I speak on my life and my love with Randolph, I just want to say a couple of things. The first one is, please follow your doctor's instructions. If you don't agree with them, get a second opinion. If you don't agree with that, get a third. But you have to come to the realization they're trying to help. And doing your self-diagnosis sometimes doesn't work very well. So please follow your doctor's instructions. And the second thing is caregivers. If you are a caregiver, don't be afraid or embarrassed to ask for help. If you know a caregiver, reach out to them and see if you can help them out. just a day or two or preparing a meal for them, it really helps with the mental and the physical of that person trying to help their loved one. My life with Randolph Alwin Wilkinson Jr. I have a lot in my mind and in my heart, and it's very difficult to put it into words. So I'll do the best I can to sum it up, to show how much he meant to me. Randy was the love of my life. Our song was Greatest Love Affair by one of our favorite artists, Jeffrey Osborne. It was the first song we ever danced to. Our terms of endearment, he called me Cornflakes. I called him Mister from The Color Purple. Our favorite thing to do was on Thursdays, our beach day. We pack up reading material, take our music. We would just soak up the sun, take a nap, talk to each other, and I mean, just enjoy the beach and the sun and the view. So it was just mainly a day of chillaxing for both of us. Our greatest accomplishment was we stayed married for over 33 years. That was an accomplishment. And we raised 2 wonderful sons together. Our dreams and our plans were coming to fruition. We retired and moved to Florida. We traveled. We both loved sporting events, sports of any kind. If you weren't into sports, you couldn't be in our family. That's the rule. We enjoyed our active lifestyle. We loved cruises. Sometimes he would go without me. And we did all this until his illness slowly started progressing. We had planned to do more traveling internationally and take up new hobbies and adventures. I really, really wanted him to try out for Jeopardy because he was smart as a web. And I wanted to spin the big wheel on The Price is Right. But Randy was the love of my life. I knew from the first time I saw him, I was going to marry him. And I told him that. That's what I told him. And why did I say that? Because he avoided me for years. He would not speak to me. He would not look at me. And I was okay with that. He went on. He lived his life. I lived mine. And then a few years later, he started showing interest in me. So I did the same thing to him. I avoided him. But I didn't make him wait too long because I really, really wanted to get to know him. Our love was different and exciting. Randy was the most confident, unique person I have ever met. When I introduced him to my family, they asked me, Karen, where did you get this guy from? My goodness, we've never met anybody like him. Randy had no filter before no filter became a thing. He would say and do anything, and everyone around us was like, well, that's Randy being Randy. They got to know him, got to love him, and he was accepted as one of our own. And that's what built my curiosity about him. I really wanted to get to know more about him. And I know I needed his excitement in my life. His interests intrigued me. His spirituality astounded me. His intellect overwhelmed me. And his thoughts and ideas on life engaged me. And I knew more than ever that I wanted to be a part of his world. We were also polar opposites. He was an extrovert. I was an introvert. He loved attention. I'd rather sit in the back and observe. He was a leader. I'd rather join in. He was loud and could be very obnoxious at times. I was quiet and reserved. He loved bright colors, and his clothing displayed that. I was more subdued in my clothing choices. We had more things in common as our love of God and family. We loved music and would go dancing quite often. Although he was not the best dancer, but you couldn't tell him that. No, could not tell him that. After 3 years of dating, we did what I told him I was going to do. We got married in 1988 of June. We had our 2 sons together, Trey and William, our gifts from God. I didn't realize then how much more of a blessing they would be to us until later when their father became ill. Randy was the love of my life. We had our ups and downs. We had times where we struggled financially, but we had more times where we were abundantly blessed. We laughed together. We cried together. We argued. We looked out for each other. We disagreed. We accepted our differing opinions. We loved each other. And there were many times we could not stand to be in the same room together. We experienced happiness and joy. We experienced sadness and regret. We faced obstacles, and we worked together to get through them together. Through it all, we made the choice to keep loving each other and to do what we had to do to make our marriage work and keep our family together. We moved to Virginia in 2002. It was heartbreaking for my boys, my family, and myself, but making that move was the best decision we ever made for us. It forced us to make our parenting skills kick in, because during that time, I pretty much relied on my parents, my sisters, my brothers. Everybody had their hands in on me and my boys. So this was the first time we both became real parents. We became mom and dad. Randy and I got several promotions while we were in Northern Virginia with our jobs. The boys flourished in school and in sports. And we were one big happy family. I don't want to elaborate on Randy's sicknesses. He had several, because that's not what his life was about. He was about having fun, enjoying himself, enjoying life, being a leader, teaching our kids, reaching out to them whether they wanted or not. Because there were many times they were like, oh my God, Mom, would you make him stop? It's like, hey, it's his turn. He's going to deal with you guys. But in early 2011, Randy was diagnosed with prostate cancer. The prognosis was good, so in the fall of the same year, he began radiation treatments. And we went to Johns Hopkins 5 days a week for 6 weeks, and he had radiation treatments during that time. Also during that time, he started having other pains. And we took him to the hospital, and that's when he was diagnosed as being a type 2 diabetic. So that was a whole different thing for us. We asked questions, we read up on it, tried to do what we could do to help him. He had to start taking insulin and oral medications, and we were over him, watching him every step of the way, while he was still going through these radiation treatments. And also during that time, he started having pancreatic attacks. That was scary. It was painful. And after a couple of surgeries, they started subsiding. But even during that time, other things started just popping up, and we didn't understand why. Seemed like every time we got one thing fixed, something else came along. And Randy didn't stop living. He didn't stop living. We continued our active lifestyle. The boys and I continued to support him. And one day he decided to retire. And it shocked me. So he retired in April 2015, and then he asked me shortly after to retire with him. I didn't want to. I was up for another promotion, and I loved my job. But I could tell he needed me. So I said, okay, we'll do that. And we moved to Florida. William had started college at K-State. Trey was securing his job. Plus he had his own family by this time. So it was time for Randy and I to start living our lives. So we moved to Florida and started doing things we wanted to do. Travel, take cruises, get to know the city of Tampa, invite people, whoever wanted to come. Our door was always open, as long as we were there. And I started noticing how his walk became slower. He used me as a crutch, or whoever was around him. He would grab us by our shoulder, and that's how he walked. His behavior started changing a little bit too. And sometimes we didn't get along very well, but I knew he was sick. So I tried to just put it off to the side to help him. And William and Trey, William left school to come help me. He put his studies on hold to come help, and Trey would come down to help. And I noticed that it just kept getting worse and worse and progressing. And like I said, I don't want to elaborate on everything, but the paramedics came to our house so many times. We knew him by first name. And I already knew the routine, what I have to do before they came in. I had peanut butter and jelly sandwich because he would go into a diabetic coma. And that was the first thing he needed in order to bring him back. But I did not have the injection that they had to bring him back. And noticed the more and more he was in the hospital, more than he was home. And when the paramedics would come by, it was taking them longer and longer to bring him around. And eventually he would have to go into the hospital. But that didn't stop Randolph from living. He still wanted to live his life by his terms, by his rules, in the way he wanted. And this past April, I was in Virginia. And when we got our stimulus check, I spent my money to buy football tickets, because that was one of the things we loved to do as a family. So Kansas City Chiefs were going to be in Washington, D.C., and everybody knows the Redskins were Randolph's favorite team. The Chiefs were me and the boys. So we planned on it. I bought the tickets. I bought airline tickets because I knew we would be flying from Florida to D.C. And little did I know that would be our last family outing. And that was Logan's first football team, and I wanted him to experience that. So I did not want him to go because he was in such bad shape. He was so sick. But William convinced me, Mom, he needs to go. This may be his last time. And thank you, William, because I'll be forever grateful for that. We had a wonderful time there. We even saw a friend of ours from Kansas City while we were walking back to our cars. And unfortunately, well, in our favor, the Chiefs beat the Redskins. So sorry, honey. But, you know, we had a really good time. And we got home that Monday. That Tuesday, paramedics were at my house again. And they took him to the hospital for the last time. And I kind of knew what was going on. The boys and I had already discussed their father's health. So we kind of prepared ourselves, but to actually see it happening was devastating. So Michael, Michelle, and Sparkle came to say their goodbyes. William came from school. By this time, he's in Orlando going to UCF, and he was going back and forth to help. He came. Trey came down. Eric and Erica called to give their last goodbyes to their father. And friends and family called, prayed with him, prayed for him. So he left the hospital and went into hospice. And that was, I never want to experience that again. But everyone has been very kind and helpful. My sister came in to help me, and I'll be forever grateful for that. She'll be back again to help me even more. Randy was a collector of things. We have a lot of things in our house. We had a lot of food. And what I did with the help of Cynthia, my sister, we went through every cabinet. I mean, we even had cabinets in the garage filled with food. Unbelievable. We took that food, looked at the expiration dates, and we donated it to a teen shelter and to 2 food pantries. And that was just in time for Thanksgiving. So, and I know he was mad at me. I could hear him, leave my stuff alone, don't touch it. But I said, honey, we're blessing everybody. You don't know how many families you're blessing. So thank you for your hoarding of food. So on our way here yesterday, the crematory place called and told me that his remains were ready. So I told them that I would be by there Monday to pick him up and bring him home. But on our way home, I will stop at the beach, and he and I will sit there and watch the sunset for the last time. And then I'll take him home. And I think the best place to put him is in the kitchen. I think he would enjoy that most. But thank you all. And again, thank you all for coming and live streaming on Facebook Live. Thank you.
Well, it is that time. It is that time. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this great celebration. For the one, the only, Randolph Alwin Wilkinson Jr. So, in closing, I just ask that you remember him with just love, with joy, and just that big smile as he says to you, keep breathing. It's important to me. Thank you all, and let's have a great meal. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We can transfer over.